Long ago, darts was just background noise in pubs, a game played between sips of lager with a handful of dedicated fans watching from their sofas. Fast forward to today, and it's a phenomenon. Packed arenas, viral moments, millions glued to their screens. Even people who've never thrown a dart in their life are suddenly obsessed. How did darts go from a niche pastime to one of the UK's most electric sporting spectacles? And no, it's not just because of one viral moment or a few flashy personalities. There's a bigger story behind this rise. Darts wasn't always like this. A few years ago, it was still a passion sport, big among its loyal fans but not something that dominated mainstream headlines. The World Darts Championship drew solid TV ratings, and the PDC had successfully built a spectacle around it, but it wasn't competing with the likes of football, boxing or Formula One for national attention. And then, almost overnight, everything changed. The UK isn't just watching darts, it's obsessed with it. The 2024 PDC World Championship final attracted a peak UK audience of nearly 4 million viewers, over double the previous year. That's higher than some Premier League matches. Social media exploded with clips. So what really caused this boom? It's easy to point to social media clips, the rise in betting markets, or even just the sport's natural evolution, but none of that explains why darts has exploded at this exact moment. The real reason? Luke Littler. At just 16 years old, Littler made an unprecedented run to the 2024 World Darts Championship final, capturing the imagination of the entire country. In a sport dominated by veterans, he was a complete anomaly, a teenager dismantling legends on the biggest stage. His semi-final match against Rob Cross drew a peak audience of 2.3 million viewers, breaking records for that stage of the tournament.
It's a big deal. The treble 20 here will leave a fitting finish on double 10. And he finishes it on double 10. Luke Littler by name, but right now arguably the biggest name in world darts.
By the time the final was over, Littler wasn't just a rising star, he was the most talked about player in the country. And that's when the shift began. Every match Littler played throughout 2024 drew massive viewership, and the demand for tickets to PDC events surged. Social media engagement skyrocketed, with highlights of his matches gaining millions of views across platforms. Littler wasn't just bringing new eyes to the sport, he was reshaping its audience. By the time he won the 2025 World Championship, darts had already been transformed. Littler was just the final push. But this wasn't just about one teenager's rise. His success tapped into something bigger, something that had been building for years. Because while Luke Littler put darts on the front pages, something far bigger is keeping it there. Luke Littler may have been the tipping point, but darts' transformation didn't happen in a vacuum. His rise wasn't just about talent, it was about timing. The sport was already evolving, shifting from its traditional roots into something bigger, louder, and more marketable. The first clue, the crowds. Darts has always had a lively audience, but what's happening now is on another level. Look at the World Darts Championship at Alexandra Palace. It's not just a sporting event, it's a full-scale carnival. Thousands of fans, dressed as everything from superheroes to farm animals, chanting in unison. It's football-level atmosphere with none of the hostility. And this isn't just a UK trend. Watch any major PDC event and the energy is identical. This kind of environment doesn't happen by accident, it's engineered. The PDC, run by Matchroom, the same company that turned snooker and boxing into massive spectacles, has spent years carefully crafting the modern darts experience. Every major tournament now feels like a blockbuster event with slick TV production, dramatic walk-ons, and players leaning into their larger-than-life personas. And the numbers back it up. The Premier League Darts Tour now fills arenas across the UK and Europe. The World Series of Darts is taking the game global, hosting events in Australia, America, and beyond. Eddie Hearn wasn't exaggerating when he called darts' growth astonishing.
I think the growth of darts globally is astonishing. You know, when you look at going from, events in Australia to particularly the sellout at Madison Square Garden recently for the US event, Eastern European.
It's not just popular, it's expanding at a rate that most sports can only dream of. But why is this working now? Why is darts succeeding in an era where so many other sports are struggling for attention? The answer comes down to something deceptively simple. Darts is perfectly built for modern audiences. Fast-paced, no long stoppages, no convoluted rules. A sport where anyone, regardless of size, background or physical ability, can go from playing in their garage to competing at the highest level. In a world where fans have endless options, darts has mastered the art of keeping people hooked. But the real secret, it's not just the spectacle, It's the characters. The game's biggest names aren't just elite players, they're walking, talking entertainment machines. And that's exactly what's keeping fans coming back. Darts isn't just about who's the best, it's about who people love to watch. And right now, the sport has an all-star cast of characters that keep fans invested long after the final dart is thrown. Take Gerwyn Price, a former rugby player turned world champion who thrives on controversy. He walks on stage like a WWE villain, pumps his fists, shushes the crowd, and feeds off the booze like it's oxygen. Some fans can't stand him, others love him for the exact same reason. Either way, they pay to watch him. Then there's Peter Wright, the showman, a two-time world champion, but just as famous for his ever-changing mohawk and neon outfits. A player who doesn't just turn up to win, he turns up to put on a show. And of course, Michael van Gerwen, the dominant force of the last decade. At his peak, he was almost untouchable, playing with a swagger that made it feel like he was winning before the match even started. Fans didn't just watch to see him win, they watched to see who, if anyone, could stop him. But for all the established names, the real X factor in darts' explosion is the 30-year-old teenager. His rise isn't just a story, it's a franchise-level narrative. He's a working-class kid from Warrington, barely old enough to drive, taking down world champions on the biggest stage. He's got the raw talent, the natural charisma, and that sense of unpredictability that makes every one of his matches a must-watch event. And that's the key. The best sports stories aren't just about winning, they're about rivalries, upsets, and personalities that fans connect with. Darts has figured that out better than almost any other sport. Every match isn't just about the score, it's about the drama, the mind games, the small moments of intensity that make the crowd erupt. This isn't just happening inside the arenas either. Social media has changed everything. A few years ago, darts highlights were something you'd see once on Sky Sports and then forget about. Now, they're everywhere. The moment Littler hit that 9-darter on the big stage,
Luke Littler is it, a 9-dart finish in the final of the Premier League of Darts.
millions saw it within hours. A tense final leg decider, clipped, shared, memed to oblivion. The crowd breaking into a chaotic rendition of Sweet Caroline while the players wait to throw. Instant viral moment. Darts thrives in this kind of environment because it delivers constant, shareable moments. It's not a slow-burning sport, it's high energy, high stakes, and perfectly suited to modern attention spans. But there's one more factor, one final piece of the puzzle that explains why darts is no longer just a sport for lifelong fans, but a national obsession, and it has everything to do with money. Darts has always had a connection to gambling. Fans have been placing bets on matches for decades. But in recent years, the rise of online betting has taken the sport to a new level. Darts is uniquely suited to this modern betting landscape. The fast, constant scoring and the high variability make it perfect for in-play betting. Fans can bet on the next leg, the total 180s, even the exact checkout a player will hit. And when you have millions of casual viewers who love a flutter, that kind of accessibility is game-changing. For the players, the stakes have never been higher. The prize pools have ballooned over the years. In the early days, a big win might set a player up for a comfortable year. Now, winning the World Championship means taking home hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it's not just the money, it's the endorsements, the sponsorships, the brand deals. Suddenly, darts players are becoming wealthy celebrities with their own loyal followings and media presence. This rise in prize money has fueled the competitive fire. Players know that one good run can change their lives. That urgency translates into higher levels of play, more dramatic moments, and a more compelling product for viewers. And as the sport grows, so does the talent pool. We're seeing younger, hungrier players like Luke Littler stepping up, challenging the established stars and injecting a sense of unpredictability into every tournament. But with money comes pressure. The stakes aren't just financial, they're psychological. Darts is a game of precision, and when you're playing under the lights, with the nation watching and a massive payday on the line, the pressure is immense. The players who can handle that pressure become legends. Those who can't, they're left behind. This is where the drama comes in. We're not just watching for the skill, we're watching for the human element, for the moments when a player has to dig deep, stay focused, and hit the biggest shot of their career. And in those moments, darts becomes more than a game. It becomes a story of triumph, heartbreak, and the pursuit of greatness. And right now, the UK is hooked on that story. The highs and lows, the rivalries and upsets, the feeling that anything can happen on that hockey. Darts has found its way into the national consciousness, not just as a sport, but as an experience, an obsession that's here to stay. The surge in darts' popularity isn't confined to viewership and event attendance. It's also evident in the growing number of enthusiasts bringing the game into their homes. Retailers have reported significant increases in dartboard sales, indicating a rising interest in personal play. For instance, Asda experienced a remarkable 1900% spike in dartboard sales leading up to the World Darts Championship. But the real question is, what happens next? Will the sport keep growing, or is it at risk of peaking too soon? Are we witnessing the start of a new golden era, or just a temporary flash in the pan? That's the intrigue, the open loop that keeps fans coming back. And for darts, that's the best place to be. But while the UK has fully embraced darts, the next challenge is taking the sport beyond its traditional strongholds and into new markets. Because right now, darts is at a crossroads. It can either solidify itself as a mainstream global sport or risk plateauing once the initial wave of hype settles. The signs of expansion are already there. The World Series of Darts is pushing into new territories, with tournaments in America, Australia, and the Middle East. The PDC is actively working to grow the sport in Asia, where soft-tip darts already has a strong following. And even in the UK, where darts is now hotter than ever, there's still room to grow, especially among younger audiences. Social media is playing a crucial role in this. Darts' short, high-impact moments make it tailor-made for platforms like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. A 9-darter, instantly viral. A player celebrating in front of a hostile crowd, clipped and shared within minutes.
I mean, sometimes the crowd's with me, sometimes they're against me. I mean, I don't care. You know, they're going to boo me, do what they want, but I'll keep winning. So happy days.
The more these moments spread, the more likely it is that new fans will be drawn in, just like we saw with Luke Littler's rise. But here's the real test. Can darts create new superstars beyond Littler? Right now, he's the face of the sport's boom, and his success has been a major driving force behind the surge in popularity. But for darts to sustain this momentum, it can't rely on one player alone. It needs more rivalries, more upsets, and new storylines to keep audiences engaged. And that's why the next few years are so important. If players like Littler, Van Gerwen, and Price continue to deliver must-watch moments, if the PDC keeps expanding its global presence, and if the sport continues to capture new audiences online, then darts won't just be the UK's latest sporting obsession, it will be one of the biggest success stories in modern sports. But even if darts continues its meteoric rise, there's one final question left unanswered. Can it ever reach the same level as the UK's biggest sports? Right now, darts is breaking records, dominating headlines, and pulling in millions of viewers, but can it realistically compete with football, rugby, or even boxing in the long run? The answer depends on what success looks like. If we're talking about cultural impact, darts already punches well above its weight. There's no other sport where a 16-year-old can become a national icon overnight, where the audience is as much a part of the spectacle as the players, and where the drama unfolds in a way that keeps fans glued to the action from start to finish. But when it comes to financial dominance, that's a tougher challenge. Football is a global juggernaut, backed by billion-pound TV deals and international superstars. Rugby and boxing have deep-rooted traditions that keep them relevant, even when they're not always thriving. Darts, on the other hand, is still carving out its place in the sport's hierarchy. The key to long-term success lies in continued innovation. The PDC has already turned darts into a modern entertainment product, but there's still more to be done. Could we see more tournaments outside of Europe? A push for Olympic recognition? New formats designed? These are the questions that will define darts' future. But here's what we do know. It's not just hype. The UK's obsession with darts isn't fading, it's evolving. It's moving beyond the pubs and into the mainstream. It's no longer just a Christmas tradition, it's a year-round spectacle. And whether it keeps growing or simply holds its place as the UK's most electrifying indoor sport, one thing is certain: darts has never been bigger than it is right now. If you've made it this far, chances are you're already part of this movement. Maybe you're a lifelong fan, loving every second of darts finally getting the recognition it deserves. Maybe you're new to the sport, just now realizing why millions of people can't get enough of it. Or maybe, just maybe, you're thinking about picking up a dartboard yourself. That's how it starts. One match turns into 10. One favourite player becomes a list of rivalries you follow religiously. Before you know it, you're arguing over checkout percentages and debating whether Luke Littler is the future.